Hello, my name is Scuria-Herman, and today I'll be checking out Shrunk by Aesop. This is suggested a couple times by the JP industry, who leaves very long comments on these videos that I enjoy reading through. Is that long-legged Larry in a wheelchair? I mean, there's no beard. Maybe this is before he grew a beard in the air, or it could be another frog. I don't want to say all frogs look the same. Oh yeah, and there's a video for this one. That'll be interesting. Before I interrupt the lyrics, there's something about these videos that just get me so hooked in immediately. I was reading this, no one's gonna hear about this, but I was reading this workshop piece for one of my classes, one of my classmates made, and there's some pieces that just reel me in immediately. Like, usually it takes me a bit to get into something, but like, there's one of these lines like, oh yeah, it's right here. This year is 2147. The American solar system is on the brink of like. There's some of them that just like immediately, I'm hooked, and just like him walking into the arcade and then seeing like this bouncer security guard guy, and then like the beat starting there. I don't know. There's just something about it that just like immediately grabbed my attention. Yeah, let's actually.
My first name is a random set of numbers and letters and other alphanumerics that changes hourly forever. My last.
That's cool. I like that. First name is a random set of numbers and letters. I really like that. Just sort of like commenting on the like usernames themselves. That's very cool. Sort of accentuating the anonymity of online monikers. I like that.
Name 1,000 vowels fitting down alphanumerics that changes hourly forever.
If you want to join therapy adventure first, you'll need to view my paperwork.
Last name 1,000 vowels fitting down a sinkhole to a susurrus. It couldn't just be John Doe or Bingo. My address, a made up language, written to a susurrus. It couldn't just be John Doe or Bingo.
I guess he's into it as I am.
My address, a made-up language, written out in living glyphs, lifted from demonic literature and religious texts. Telephone uncovered by purveyors of the Ouija, then checked against literature and religious.
Patient name that's personal. Birth date a while back. Are you in a position to care Dr. Izzo? I don't know if that's serious or not. Are you taking any medications, probiotics, and hot wings? The only prescription one man needs. Are you on a special diet? Probiotics and dumplings. So are you not ingesting the hot wings? Are you pregnant 7 weeks with a new beat? I've heard that a lot. Whereas like someone like is pregnant with a song. Do you have pains anywhere? My hair doesn't hurt. That made me think of in the last song with the whole like detachable dreadlocks. Also, someone in the comments did explain that to me. Thank you. I'm very unaware when it comes to that. Do you have allergies? Large crowds. Wait, large crowds and
literature and religious texts. Telephone uncovered by purveyors of the Ouija.
And internet personalities, I think it said. Internet posturing.
Telephone uncovered by purveyors of the Ouija, then checked against the CBGB women's room graffiti. My socialist Sudoku, my age is obscure. My in case of emergency is in the daisies chasing.
It is cool to sort of look at all of these like systems in place, like, you know, your name, your address, social security number, and just analyze them as what they are, just a combination of numbers and letters. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, what else are they? And I think that it is a very interesting analysis to sort of say like, yeah, this is what they are. It is simply, you know, just we've put. It's like if you look at a dollar bill, it doesn't say like this is worth, you know, such and such amount. This is exchangeable for such and such amount. Let me look at the actual terminology. I do not have a dollar bill because I am poor. Alright. There you go. Federal Reserve note. is legal tender for all debts, public and private. So it's not actually worth anything. It's worth something that's worth something. Everything is in place of something else. And that's how the system works. And it's cool to see him analyze that, because yes, we've put value on these things that technically have no value, because people have analyzed like the penny and stuff like that, saying it's like, you know, it's not actually worth 1 cent. It costs more to produce. But I mean, technically, so does dollar bill. The dollar bill isn't worth exactly $1. I could just be wrong on that. It costs, did I say more or less? I meant less. It costs less to make a dollar bill than it's worth. And people would say like, oh, it costs too much to make a penny. But at the end of the day, I don't think money is meant to be worth what it's like, you know, reduced down to. Because it's representative of money, which is not cash, which is not coins. It is a value we assign to it. I don't know if any of that makes sense. I'm gonna move on.
Socialist Sudoku, my age is obscure. My in case of emergency is in the daisies chasing birds. Employed by trillionaires with perfect teeth and pores, and people who open doors for the people who open doors. My medical history.
The specific line I was looking at there was for the people who open doors, for the people who open doors. What's cool about that is just looking at this sort of like ladder and seeing like there will always be someone more powerful. Like even the person in your life who you think is more powerful, there's someone more powerful than them. Even if you're looking up to like an authority figure, like your parents are parents. Like or had, but there's just like an increasing level of authority and power throughout life. There's always going to be someone more powerful. There's no one that's all powerful, and even someone who is all powerful in some form of life, they will answer to someone else. In most societies, there is no like monarchy. There is no someone above all else. And even then, like a king would still have to answer to a medical practitioner or something like that. So there is always someone that has more power in certain situations, which is part of the reason why I like writing dialogue, is because it's interesting to see someone who would typically have power or would typically not have power having the opposite in a certain situation because of their personality or their certain set of skills.
Is a course Sunni Buffalo, charlatan psychiatry and troubleshooting undertow. Nervous in the.
I haven't mentioned this yet, but I do like this whole format of therapy being a video game and her being a secretary in a waiting room, that he has to like fight in this like sort of like video game thing where sort of like it looks sort of like a rhythm game, this part at least, where he's, you know, trying to dodge the paperwork. And if it was a rhythm game, that would make sense for his music.
Sunni Buffalo, charlatan psychiatry and troubleshooting undertow. Nervous in the service still. I'm burger meat and purple pills here. Thank you, but call your name. Sure you will. Skipped lunch. I'm shrunk.
Huh. My first name is a random set of numbers and letters and other alphanumerics that changes hourly forever. My first instinct when I read that was the sort of like username and sort of like, you know, trying to get like a high score sort of thing. But with the rest of it, my last name, my address, my telephone, my social, my age, I guess it is an analysis of the systems we have in place to sort of identify ourselves and assign value to things. But I think it could have that like double meaning because it is the first line and it's introducing you to this arcade format that he's in this song, in this video I meant. My last name 1,000 vowels, fading down a sinkhole to a susurrus, couldn't just be a John Doe or bingo. I mean, I feel that, you know, my last name is, you know, I have a hyphenated last name and it's never spelled right by anyone. So my address and made-up language written down in living lists lifted from demonic literature and religious text. There was a comment in the last video about Aesop's relationship to the church. I'm not gonna try to reiterate that because I won't be able to capture the meaning of the initial comment, but I do want to say that I read that and that was very interesting. Telephone uncovered by purveyors of the Ouija, then checked against the CBGB women's room graffiti. CBGB. Oh, it's a music club. Okay. My socialist Sudoku. I think that was one of the lines I called it that I liked. My age is obscure. My in case of emergency is the daisies chasing birds. It's like a reversal. And that's the sort of thing about like the king answering to his doctor that I was talking about. Employed by trillionaire, here you go. Employed by trillionaires with perfect teeth and pores, and people who open doors to the people who open doors. My medical history is, of course, a SUNY Buffalo. Charlatan psychiatry and troubleshooting undertow. Nervous in the service still on burger meat and purple pills here. And then when he defeats the secretary in the video, thank you, we'll call your name. Sure you will. Skip lunch. I'm Shrunk. Very cool. Yeah, I'm loving it. Also, haven't mentioned this. I always forget to mention this. B is very good. Very good rhythm throughout. Has this sort of bounciness as one of the other songs. Let me look through what I've reacted to. Because there was something. Maybe Coffin Jump? One of these had a similar beat. I forget which one it was. But yeah.
Dreaming of Arcadia, you're feeling like a baby tooth. The waiting panacea, channeling your inner Beowulf. In purgatory just before you pay up to fillet yourself and others. In the name of help, cold on a conveyor belt.
Oh, there's Dr. Izzo. There you go. I was wondering if he was going to come back around because that's like one serious thing on the paperwork. But there's a new secretary. So he's answering the people who open doors to the people who open doors. So even though he got through the first secretary, he has to get through the second.
In the name of help, cold on a conveyor belt. In an ego death alone, no telephone from Gabriel. I'm half a human, combing over home and garden stone. Gold chains over.
Yeah, I don't mention this enough, probably because I'm not musically minded, but he does have a very good handle on flow in general. And I remember the first thing that I mentioned in my very first video that's still getting views somehow, but he has that cool like vocal trick that like you know, and you can see that here. You can see him do it. There you go. I think it's very cool. You could be looking at me and saying like, what are you talking about? You don't know how to describe this at all. And you're right, I don't. But I just like it. You pack up all your manias sitting in the waiting room. You're dreaming of Arcadia. You're feeling like a baby tooth. Awaiting Panacea, channeling your inner Beowulf. Speaking to my writer there. In Purgatory, just before you pay up to fillet yourself and others. Very similar to the sort of punishments in Dante's Purgatorio. In the name of help, coal on the conveyor belt. In ego death alone, no telephone from Gabriel. I'm half a human coming over home and garden stoned. Gold chains over turtlenecks, cigars over cologne. So I think this verse so far is about this sort of like combination of these things, like putting this sort of like perspective on sort of being destitute or being lavish, and sort of combining them, and that's sort of like the cigars and the cologne and the Purgatory, Beowulf, Arcadia, sort of combining these concepts. And it's like, you know, I'm just waiting, and that's the waiting room is the, you know, Purgatorio. Let's get to the seppuku and then it's Sudoku, like you mentioned earlier. So seppuku and Sudoku are often, you know, associated, even though technically I have no association. Was that him like as like a sort of like from this angle with the axe especially, it looked like he was a sort of like lumberjack guy. And I don't know if that's just a random frog or that is Long-Legged Larry. Maybe it's just because I am coming off of the Long-Legged Larry experience that I am recognizing as Long-Legged Larry. He does have kind of long legs, but None of the other attributes, so I don't know. But he's fighting a bear. It is funny that obviously his flow and neurosis are his highest stats, and then his life is his lowest. I like that. At least Dr. Izzo. Dr. Izzo's a bear? Is that... How did he get his license?
She says, I'm not your enemy. I said, that sounds like something...
I feel like that is something like therapists say a lot, like, I'm not your enemy. Or maybe this is just saying more about it myself than I intend, but this idea that, like, you know, sort of like being backed into a corner so much that you feel like you're always being backed into a corner, even in a place that you feel like you should be provided support. So, I'm not your enemy. I feel like that's what rings true to me.
That my enemy would say, instead of playing off the chemistry, she said.
And that's what he's sort of saying, is like, he is acknowledging that, like, it might not be true, but that's sort of like what he's predisposed to here.
You're being difficult. I said, I'm being guarded. You're $250,000 dead. I get more guidance from my barber. Look,
I feel like that's the thing. I obviously have not been to a barber in a while, but I feel like that's a thing a lot. I hear from a lot of men that, like, they get more support from their barber than they do their therapist. But I have not experienced that relationship.
I'm not good at this. I grew up in a noogie fest. You built your walls of pie or said goodbye to all your cookie puss. Here's one. Every time my telephone buzzes, I see images of hooded riders setting fire to hundreds. She said, when you start getting all expressive.
I also do want to say, I have said before, I focused too much on the video, but I do really like this animation style. This combination of this, like, video game style and this, like, pixelation, because it's also very, like, you know, animated. It feels very it doesn't feel really like a video, especially that part with, like, the swinging. And I like that sort of combination of that.
Every time my telephone buzzes, I see images of hooded riders setting fire to hundreds. She said, when you start getting all expressive and symbolic, it's impossible to actualize an honest diagnostic. I said, when you start getting all exact and algebraic, I'm reminded it's a racket, not a rehabilitation, okay?
There you go. I feel like I could say a lot about that, but I also feel like he just said everything. Which is hard especially when reacting to an artist like this who just says everything so perfectly. It's hard to provide anything on top of that.
Agree to disagree as grown-ups from opposing clans, honoring the push and pull. I should have called the Scholarmans. Oh well. Preservation is a doozy. Will you be needing another appointment? Absolutely. I'm shrunk.
Oh! The literal end of the song, I finally got it. He shrunk because he went to a shrink. And the shrink shrank him. So now he shrunk. The shrink shrank him and now he shrunk. And the breakthrough was him getting defeated by the bear who is a psychiatrist. I feel smart, but I also feel like everyone else would have realized that before me. But at least I realized it this time before, like, with Rings, having to go into the comments and saying, oh, you know, oh, look at this, I understand it. I swear, guys, trust me. Yeah, my camera died for that part, but, you know, my big breakthrough, but I'll just keep going because I gotta get to class in a bit. She says, I'm not your enemy. I said, that sounds like something my enemy would say. Instead of playing off the chemistry, she said, you're being difficult. I said, I'm being guarded. You're $250,000 dead. I get more guidance from my barber. Look, I'm not good at this. I grew up at a noogie fest. You build your walls up high or say goodbye to all your cookie puss. Here's one. Every time a telephone buzzes, I see images of hooded riders setting fire to hundreds. She said, when you start getting all expressive and symbolic, it's impossible to actualize an honest diagnostic. I keep going back and forth here just because, like, I love this dialogue exchange. And it's interesting how Aesop uses dialogue in music. I mean, there's not much I can say here more than I feel like his analysis of a therapy appointment, going through these 2 waiting rooms, and then having him be defeated by his psychiatrist. I feel like that's very cool. My computer is telling me I gotta go to class. very cool as a way to demonstrate this sort of like, you know, physical breakthrough. And then when you start getting all exact and algebraic, I'm reminded it's a racket, not a rehabilitation. Okay, that's the line that really said to me, like, I cannot say anything here because he just said everything. Because his therapist is trying to get through to him, but at the same time, he realizes you are just getting paid to do this. Agree or disagree is grown-ups from opposing clans. This is a very cool line in and of itself. Honoring the push and pull, I should have called the Scholomance. Oh well, preservation is a doozy. Will you be needing another appointment? Absolutely. I'm Shrunk. Very cool. Yeah, let me hear the end of this. Make sure there's any resolution I'm not missing. Insert more coins to continue. There you go, that's the whole point of therapy. Oh hey, this is off of the Impossible Kid, which you already saw. I think I already knew that and I just forgot. What do you think? Genuine, like, that's really all I can say because I feel like I've talked for a while. But what do you think about this? What's your take on this song? What's your take on being shrunk? Do you feel like being shrunk is a good thing? Do you feel like you should be shrunk? Do you feel like therapy and psychiatry is just exact and algebraic, a racket, not rehabilitation? Because at the end, he does say, like, I will need another appointment. Which I feel like, in and of itself, might be, you know, a mental problem in and of itself. But there you go. Alright. Yeah, as I said, let me know what you think of this down below. Let me know what you want me to do next. Thank you guys for watching. And until next time, adieu.